the Jet Setting Wealth Advisory Podcast, where your financial journey takes flight with David T.U. As an airline pilot and financial expert, David merges the aviation industry and wealth management to help you navigate today's complex financial skies. Each episode features expert insight, blending personal stories with essential financial strategies. We ask that you fasten your seatbelts and sit back as we prepare for takeoff. Our destination, your financial empowerment.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Jet Setting Wealth Advisory Podcast. I'm your host, David T.U. Today, our guest is Mr. Jeff Badu, a licensed CPA, parallel entrepreneur, and a wealth multiplier. Jeff is the founder and CEO of Badu Tax Services, LLC, a premier CPA firm that specializes in tax preparation, tax planning, and tax representation for individuals and businesses with over 3,000 clients across all 50 U.S. states and 25 different countries. Jeff and his team are on a mission to help build owners, minimize tax liability, and multiply their wealth. He also leads real estate initiatives aimed at revitalizing underserved communities and hosts financial literacy workshops nationwide. Jeff's drive and his purpose is very simple: to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources that is available and create an abundant lifestyle. Jeff, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. Pleasure. Thank you for having me today.
Fantastic. So let's get started to getting to know you. So Jeff, can you share with us your journey that began in Ghana and brought you here in the United States when you were just 8 years old, and what inspired your path into entrepreneurship and tax strategies?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, David. So personally, I was born and raised in Ghana and, came to the U.S. ultimately when I was 8 years old, came here with my older sister. My parents were already here when basically we migrated to the U.S. And yeah, I would say in general, Ghana, things were going great in Ghana overall, but when I came to the US, there were a few setbacks, a few trials and tribulations that I had to deal with, but in general, was able to get out of it. And ultimately, when it comes to the entrepreneurship aspect, basically, I went to school to study accounting at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And how that came about is when I was in high school, I took an assessment, junior year of high school. And basically, the assessment is to determine what career path is best for you. And so when I took the assessment, it determined that accounting was the best career path for me. And I'm somebody who always loved counting, love math, love money. Growing up in Ghana, Ghana is filled with a lot of entrepreneurs. So it's a very entrepreneurship heavy environment. And, I learned this later on in life that the entrepreneurs, the people that you'll see people out on the street selling clothes, fruits, handbags, right? Anything that they can sell. And I discovered that they were selling that to make ends meet. They weren't just selling it because they truly enjoyed doing that, but they needed to do it to put food on the table. So growing up in Ghana, it allowed me to see entrepreneurship firsthand. And then on top of that, my parents are also both entrepreneurs. My dad is a real estate developer. My mom is also a real estate developer, and she has some other businesses as well. So overall, I was literally surrounded with entrepreneurs. But then fast forward, that's when I attended the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, received my bachelor's degree in accounting as well as my master's degree in accounting. And then from there, I was interning at PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, one of the top big four public accounting firms in the world. So I was working there for a few years, interned there for a few years, and eventually became full-time. But then I was also working on my own business plan. And in September of 2016, that's when I decided to leave PwC and become a parallel entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier. That's when I founded Badu Tax Services, which is a tax firm, a CPA firm, that does the tax preparation, planning, and representation for individuals and businesses. Then that company morphed into other companies, including our real estate investment company, Badu Investments. And then we also teach financial literacy through the Badu Foundation. And all of that is due to my purpose in life, which is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. That is my exact purpose. And I basically discovered that purpose at the age of 16 when I took a trip back to Ghana.
I see. How do you define the super hungry?
That's a great question, David. Super hungry individual, someone who's internally motivated. They have the burning fire within them. Anytime they can go out there and get it, whether they're sick, whether they're rich, whether they're poor, no matter the state they are in, they have this. When you see somebody and you see the way they go about something, you see somebody perform on stage, or you see an athlete go out there, Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, rest in peace in his soul. You notice that they're very special in that it's not just about how talented they were, it's the internal drive to be great.
I
And
see.
so someone who's
So when
super
you say the
hungry,
super hungry, it's not
mhm,
literally hunger.
right,
You're talking
exactly.
about hungry with the ability to move forward and create something in their life.
Absolutely. Internal hunger.
I
Indeed.
see. Okay. You refer yourself as a parallel entrepreneur. How did Baidu Tax Services come to be this, and how did you derive at this term? And what sets Baidu CPA firm from
Mhm.
other CPA firms?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I answer the first question. Baidu Enterprises is the overarching umbrella. That is the brand. That pretty much is the company that, goes out there and markets to other companies. So Baidu Tax Services is the mother company. That is the bread and
Okay.
butter, basically. That's where we spent 80% of our day to day in the businesses. But what made Baidu Enterprises a parallel entrepreneurship company, a multinational conglomerate, is that clients were asking certain things like, hey, can you help form my LLC for me? Hey, can you do bookkeeping for me? Hey, can you teach me financial literacy? Hey, can you help me buy real estate? Or can you show me how to buy real estate? And so basically, parallel entrepreneur meaning related services to the tax firm. And so that's when Badu Entity Formation, our entity formation company came about, our real estate investment company. A lot of our tax clients are real estate professionals or real estate investors. So it basically made all of those businesses parallel to the tax firm. And I would say what separates Badu Tax Services from other firms, other CPA firms, is that number one, we're very forward looking. We're a tax planning primarily firm. For example, when the tax reform came out, the Big Beautiful Bill tax reform component came out on July 4th,
Mhm.
ironically, right? The next week, basically, we put together an event, a webinar, a speaking engagement, where we're educating clients about the top 10 things they should be aware of when it comes to the tax reform. And so immediately, we became very, very proactive with that. When we meet with clients, a lot of our clients are tax planning clients. We're meeting with them at least quarterly. We're checking in with them, seeing their financial state, how we can basically apply different strategies to their situation. So we're very forward looking. So that's one. Number two, we're a virtual firm. A lot of accounting firms are very in person, paper. You got to go to the office. For us, we're a virtual firm. I have a home office here, very fortunate, and we can work from anywhere in the world. Sometimes I travel. I tend to travel quite a bit, and so that allows me to work anywhere. And for the client, for their sake, they can basically be anywhere, upload their documents through our secure portal. They can meet virtually via Zoom or any other platform by phone. So it's a very flexible type of business for the client and then for our team as well. And then there's a longevity. I mean, I'm currently 33 years old. I actually just turned 33 a few weeks ago. And yeah, so it's the longevity is there. I would say our average age within our firm is probably 35 years old. And not that it's the most important thing, but the average age in my industry is about 65 years old. And if you know
Yes.
what that age represents, that's usually approaching retirement. And so, would I be comfortable handing over my information to somebody I'm looking to build a long term 30 plus year relationship with that's about to approach retirement in the profession? Right. So, there's a longevity aspect. And last but not least, education. We overeducate. We just did a webinar last night, for example, where we're talking about the tax reform. We're talking about different ways to create wealth and things of that nature. So we're very education heavy. And even if a client isn't paying us, they can at least come to our free events and be educated. And that's how the firm was truly founded, was based on a notion of education, essentially.
Fantastic. My wealth management firm is exactly the same. It's
Yes,
about
sir.
financial education, being a financial educator versus a salesman. So I love exactly what you just said there. Where are you located?
So right now I'm in Dallas, Texas. That's my
Okay.
home office now. I used to be in Chicago for 20 plus years. That's where I migrated when I came from Ghana to the US. And so I used to live in Chicago, but recently relocated to Dallas, Texas. That is now our headquarters.
Do you work with airline professionals? I know at in Dallas,
Hmm.
which is the world headquarter for American Airlines. Do you
Yes, sir.
work with any pilots or flight attendants or any airline people there?
Yeah, I would say yes. We do have a few clients that are pilots, airline aviation professionals. We certainly
Okay.
work with them. We have a few pilots, flight attendants. One of my friends actually in Dallas, he's studying to become a pilot. And so ironically, I'm starting to get tapped into that community even more through the friendship I have with him. And so, yes, we do have clients that are in the aviation industry for sure.
Fantastic. My firm, DTY Well Planning Solutions, we serve aviation professionals, airline pilots, and aircraft owners that are business owners. So there's a lot of synergy that we can build from
Yes, sir.
that.
That's
Um, we'll,
amazing.
t- we'll talk more about this off the air. Let's continue
That sounds good.
with more about your services and your practice. Let's talk about tax saving strategies. What do you think some of the tax saving strategies that you provide that you believe that business owners, every business owner should utilize, and but yet they often don't know about it or don't take the opportunity to take advantage of these strategies?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, Dave. Before I answer that question directly, I do want to say that the biggest mistake I see that business owners, W-2 employees, folks out there that are not tax professionals make is not seeking the help of a professional. When your car is messed up, you probably want to take it to a mechanic. You probably don't want to hop on YouTube and spend all this time looking at these videos where you may even mess up the car even more, and now it costs you even more. It usually costs more to fix it the second time around. The biggest mistake in general is not having a professional, somebody in your corner, an advisor on your team. When we talk about specific strategies, it is the inability or the lack of, quote unquote, lack of knowledge of how you can turn your day-to-day expenses into tax deduction machines. And what I mean by that is, for example, let's say you are an aviation professional and you happen to be traveling. Yes, I know there's a lot of perks, you get discounts and all that, but let's say you pay some of
Mhm.
those things out of pocket, the food, the hotels, you pay those out of pocket. The fact that you're an aviation professional, and let's say one of your businesses is training pilots and training people to become a pilot, the fact that you are traveling yourself makes those travel expenses 100% business tax deductible because you are out there in the capacity of traveling, right? Travel is your industry. When you're basically going out day to day and you're eating food, let's say with your spouse, and your spouse happens to be one of the members of your LLC, and you're eating with your spouse, guess who you're eating with? You're eating with your business partner. So what happens when you eat with your business partner? That makes it a business meal. So that makes it tax deductible as well. Trips to Aruba, trips to the Bahamas. You bought a car and you're driving to and from different business locations. Well, thanks to the new tax reform, you might be able to claim 100% of the car's purchase price as a tax deduction, even if you put no money down on the car, essentially. So all in all, there's a lot of things day to day that you're spending money. Just look at the last five things you spend money on. I guarantee you at least one of those is a business tax deduction. So I would say
Okay.
that would be the number one thing that I see is the lack of the write-offs, the lack of knowledge when it comes to things that you can claim as a business expense to offset your business income.
Fantastic. Do you also partake and offer advice on defined benefit and defined contribution plans, solo Ks, profit sharing, cash access type of retirement, qualified retirement accounts?
Short answer is yes, we do.
Okay.
we do advise from a tax standpoint when it comes to that. I would say we are a big proponent of after-tax retirement vehicles.
Okay.
So Roth 401k, right? Roth IRA, HSA, which is both pre-tax and after-tax. And you get this.
Trifecta,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
trifecta account.
The
Yep.
trifecta, love it. And then real estate. Real estate is also like an HSA,
Yes.
in that when you buy the asset, you can claim tax deductions and make it a pre-tax investment. It can grow tax free where you keep it forever. And if you pass it down to your kids, your beneficiaries, they don't pay any income taxes on that money thanks to a thing called step up cost basis, for example. So, yes, we do, but we tend to lean our clients to after tax retirement vehicles as opposed to pre tax.
I love it. So the after tax stuff, which is what you love, what we call the tax free account or tax me never account, such as a healthcare savings account, an HSA. What about utilizing cash value life insurance? Do you partake in something cool like that?
Absolutely. Love cash value life insurance. I don't think it's utilized enough. I mean, most people, or a lot of people don't even have life insurance to begin with. But when they learn that you can actually utilize life insurance to create wealth over time and be like the Rockefellers, for example, then that can become a very powerful vehicle, powerful tool. That's also an after tax account as well. So a huge proponent of cash value. Yeah, they say, it's quote unquote expensive and all that. But what's more expensive is not investing in it, in my opinion, because of all the tax benefits it comes with. And the fact that you can pretty much create a bank almost within, you can borrow against it, you can use it for retirement, kids' college education. This is truly an amazing account. And then it's also bankruptcy protected in a lot of states as well.
I got to tell you, of all the CPA and some tax attorneys that I have on the show, and predominantly the CPAs that I have met, and I've met plenty. I'm one of the presenters at the Florida Institute of Certified Public Accountants, which is the Florida chapter of the AICPA. Most of the CPAs are known as archaeologists, basically are trying to subscribe to the 1040 tax form, what has happened that year. They are never in terms of what we would call tax planning. What it sounds like is that you at your tax firm not only does the tax filings, but in fact are proactive in helping people truly find ways to pay the least amount of taxes that's legally possible. I totally commend you for that. Fantastic. Focusing on tax planning is not just tax preparation. Would you agree with that? Go ahead.
Absolutely. I actually had a client, ironically, it's everything happens for a reason, right? Everything is divine. But in general, I had a client who is a tax prep only client. And yeah, I was listening to her. She was sharing her frustrations about, hey, we weren't proactive enough. We didn't implement, we didn't help her with strategies and we didn't meet with throughout the year. And I said, I understand where you're coming from, but that's because the scope of the service you sign up for is tax preparation, right? Which is filing your taxes and helping you
Yes,
stay compliant with the IRS.
that's right.
Tax planning, that's now where we can be more proactive. This is now where we can sit down and really put strategies together to ultimately maximize your tax savings so that you can put more money in your bank account to do things like save for retirement, to do things like pay for your kids' college education. So many things you can do with that are tend to be better uses of that money than giving it to the government unnecessarily. Right. So yeah, tax planning is what saves you money in taxes. Tax preparation is what basically keeps you compliant with the IRS and quote unquote keeps you out of IRS jail, basically.
Absolutely. I love everything that you have said. It's making me feel optimistic and happy that you are probably one of the 10% of all the CPAs in the country. There's only approximately 10% of CPAs that are proactive tax planners versus tax preparation service. So I truly commend you about that. What are some of the common mistakes that you see when it comes to IRS compliance? And how can business owners avoid these potential audit red flags?
Yeah, that's a great question, David. So basically, one of the things that we see is the lack of bookkeeping, not having
Excellent.
good books in order. They're using two boxes of receipts, improper bookkeeping. One way to combat that, or one way to mitigate that, is to utilize bookkeeping software that makes your life easier, like QuickBooks Online,
Mhm.
for example. That has nice paper trail, has automations in there to make your life easier. Basically, books, there's lacks of books and records. That's one. And then two, rounded numbers. IRS hates rounded numbers because they think if everything is rounded, it looks made up, it looks estimated. So stay away from rounded numbers, numbers that end in zeros primarily, and then
Mhm.
also numbers that end in fives. And then not using all the correct paperwork or records, not using all the 1099 forms, the W-2 forms. When we file taxes, we're not mainly looking for a tax refund. We're basically looking to pay, I mean, we're staying compliant, but when we do proactive tax planning, it's going to help us pay the least amount of taxes possible anyway. And so as a business owner, don't look forward to a tax refund, because if you're getting a tax refund, that means you probably didn't plan the right way throughout the year anyway, because the government is just refunding you money back that you paid to them, unless you're getting a credit like the child tax credit, the earned income credit, or the American Opportunity Credit. So I would say two things in particular would be that pretty much not having good books and records in order to where you can basically look sound on paper, and then using rounded numbers, it's usually not a good idea when it comes to taxes.
Fantastic. So once the client saves money on taxes, how do you help them transition into wealth multiplication, which is what we talked about at the introduction of you at the beginning of the show, and especially through real estate or other types of investments?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, basically, I would say that when we talk about the transition, the nice thing about our firm is that we have expertise in a lot of different areas, right? So I myself, I speak at over 100 events, 100 workshops every year, and about different topics: budgeting, saving, investing. So basically, in a nutshell, we can say, okay, now that we've saved you some money in taxes, here's what we can do in addition to this. Okay, we own a real estate investment company. Maybe come invest with us so that we can go out and look at a 10-unit apartment building in Indiana, right? And not only will that put extra money in your bank account, but it will also be now a tax shelter, a tax deduction on top of that, right? So that's one way, is finding ways that we can turn the tax saving into investments over time. And then we're always looking for ways to improve the client situation. And that, let's say we see that they didn't have good books and records in order, then we'll make sure that we coach them throughout the process and make sure they have good books and records in order. If they don't have something like QuickBooks in place, which allows them to track their finances more proactively throughout the year, then we'll make that recommendation. But if they don't have a bookkeeper, for example, then we do own a bookkeeping company. And now that's a service that we can offer to the client. So always ever improving, ever increasing the client's knowledge, increasing the client's education, increasing the client's awareness. And then money that we're saving or money that's there, we're looking at different vehicles that we can see where we can help that client invest that money and ultimately earn some more money from it.
So, in terms of real estate, I want to just kind of dive into that a little bit with the former 2017 Tax Cut on the Jobs Act and now the OBBBA, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. There is a new IRC tax code, Section 1202, qualify small business stocks, as well as qualified opportunity zones. Of course, we've always had 1031s, but now all of that are part of the real estate methodology and strategies to help real estate investors be able to continue to defer their taxes on their capital gains. Do you partake in any of that type of strategies?
Yeah, I mean, we dibble and dabble in it.
Okay.
Ultimately, anything that makes sense for the client, we can definitely look at the strategy and see if that's a viable strategy for the client. So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's definitely something we'll look into. We always work with the client's advisor if they have a financial advisor or a
Okay.
wealth advisor. So we'll always work with them. Sometimes we do a three-way meeting. And yeah, I mean, on our end, We're very fortunate enough to be able to handle any type of client, no matter the wealth level, no matter the complexity, no matter how small, how big the client is. We've learned over time. We're approaching our 10-year anniversary next year as a firm. And
Fantastic.
so we've basically been able to learn a lot of things. We've seen a lot of things. I personally, I'm involved in a lot of things too, practicing what we preach. And ultimately, we can help a client with any areas, including the ones that you just mentioned.
Excellent. On our side, we consider ourselves our tax, a little bit of a tax mitigation strategist. We don't know everything, but we certainly have a lot of resources. We culminate and build synergy through working with tax professionals like yourself, teams, to be able to bring as much value and as much resources to the table to the clients that we serve. We do have qualified opportunities on funds, 1031 DST, exchange, funds. These are all practical tools that are available, certainly legit and legal in every way. It's in the tax codes. So, very fortunate to be talking to you about these particular methodologies in terms of tax mitigation.
Yes,
Business
sir.
owners that are profitable but not really yet investing, what's the first step that you would recommend?
Um,
Yes, absolutely. So, for business owners who are profitable, but they're really not participating in any tax mitigation, such as 401k, setting up a 401k for themselves or their employees or staff, what is the first step that you would recommend business owners who are making money but aren't really doing anything? What is your recommendation for them?
Question, David. So, number one, let's look at your tax strategy. Let's make sure you have a tax strategy in place, and let's increase those profits by putting more money in your pocket from tax savings. That's the first thing. And basically, the second thing is, yeah, let's make sure you're maxing out your Roth 401k account, your Roth IRA, your HSA, some of those quote unquote more basic accounts. And then let's look into real estate. Real estate is a big investment strategy
Yeah,
that
you
we
keep bringing
often
that up.
recommend. If you invest in the right market with the right people, then real estate will always be a fruitful investment. Basically, what we can do with a client, we can potentially take that purchase. Once we buy the property, we can take the purchase price and claim a tax deduction on up to 30% as what we call bonus depreciation, right? So if you buy a property, let's say we buy a property with the client at $1 million, we can potentially get a tax deduction of up to 30% thanks to the new tax reform that just passed. And now they get a $300,000 tax deduction that can offset their other source of income, like their W-2 income or 1099 or business income. That's huge.
Absolutely.
And that property is making them probably cash flow of $5,000 per month. And so, of course, that's a more perfect scenario. The world is not perfect. Life is not all peaches and cream. But if executed correctly in the right market, then we can now turn real estate as a cash flow machine and a tax deduction machine that can always help offset the client's tax bill by a very substantial amount every single year they buy new property.
Do you have any private equity that you introduce to clients on the real estate side? Do you syndicate this type of real estate investment since you brought this up?
Yeah, so Badu Investments is a real estate investment company. I own
Okay.
the company. So yeah, we're able to put deals together and it's usually more intimate investments. It's not like a group of 100 people or 50 people investing. It's usually myself and the client or the client and I essentially. Maybe we bring in one more investor. Maybe we're short on capital. We invest in Indiana right now, Northwest Indiana, mainly Hammond, Indiana. We love that market. We love everything that's going on there. And so we tend to focus on what we know best. We have a team on the ground there that can help manage the property and everything like that. So, yeah, I mean, even with our clients, right now, we actually have more clients for the first time in history within our firm. We have more clients that are looking to invest than we have opportunities available. We have clients reaching out saying, hey, is there an opportunity? And right now, the inventory is so low in Hammond, Indiana, that there's not a ton of opportunities. But I do know when they do reduce interest rates, the Federal Reserve, then that's going to free up more people, their peace of mind to now sell those properties. And now they come into our hands and now we can have investors invest in them. So yes, we do invest. It's not like large syndications or anything like that. It's more like, joint venture type of scenarios,
I see.
basically.
So these are not registered and they're not considered Reg D type of
Exactly.
investments. These are proprietary,
Exactly.
you and the
Hmm.
client, and maybe
Hmm.
one or possibly two more parties, but very, very small
Right. Very
type of
intimate, very
participation.
direct type of investments. We're not promoting this on social media or putting
Okay.
together pamphlets or anything
Intimate,
like that.
yes. I like that word. Very intimate investments. Love it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about the mindset. What role does mindset play in shifting from taxpayers to becoming wealth builders, or in your word, multipliers, wealth multipliers?
Yes, sir.
What is the
Yeah, it's
mindset?
everything. I mean, mindset is everything. Your mindset really determines everything. Your mindset can lead you to walking across the street and going to the store, like, hey, your mind is telling you, I need to go to the store, I need to go buy XYZ. Without your mind telling you to do that or going to work out to stay physically fit, if your mind is not telling you or motivating you to say, hey, let me go to the gym, a place where I can increase my physical health, my fitness, then all of a sudden you're not going to do it. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how wealthy you are. Your mindset is everything. And so when we talk about from being a taxpayer or someone who's basically in the US and ultimately like not really doing much, but let me just go to work, let me pay my taxes, to now let me become a wealth multiplier, that takes a pretty dedicated, committed mindset to do that.
Okay.
It has less to do with how much you have and more to do with what you desire to have. I'm a huge Bob Proctor fan, for example. I'm actually
Mhm.
reading one of his audio tapes, rest in peace to his soul. And he always talks about your mind, right? Your mind is everything. Your mind is, when you tap into that subconscious part of the brain, then it can be very, very powerful. Your mind, I mean, somebody's mind told a lady to lift up a huge car that had her baby under it. She's not bigger than the car by a long shot, right? The car is way bigger than her, right? From a weight standpoint. But her subconscious mind told her, my baby's under that car. And what a mother would do for a baby, they would move mountains, right? She said, let me lift this car. Let me find a way to lift this car up and basically get the baby out. I mean, when I read that story, I'm like, your mind can do anything. So when you
Unbelievable
have
things.
the
Yeah.
will to do something, you can do it. If you desire to do something, there's truly always a way to do it. Your mind is everything when it comes to life.
Excellent. Let's talk about your, in terms of abundant lifestyle. You have had that in your core messages in helping people build the abundant lifestyle. What does that mean to you, and how would any type of tax factor play into this messaging?
Yeah, definitely. So when we talk about the abundant lifestyle, let's go to the root word abundance. Abundance
Okay.
means having more than enough, having so much that it almost becomes overwhelming. Of course, we don't want it to become overwhelming, but you have more than enough, right? So when we talk about an abundant lifestyle, you have abundance of wealth, you have abundance of health, your kids are getting the best education, you're breathing fresh air, you're not too concerned about, you're not really concerned about the things that you can't really control, but you have so much abundance to the point where it's like every time you wake up, positive things just start happening in life, right? And so when we talk about the abundant lifestyle, that is a world, a realm of a place that you are in where you're flowing, right? Life is going good. There's money in the bank. Your investments are doing pretty good. And yeah, it may not be every single thing, but when you have an abundant lifestyle, when you're creating an abundant lifestyle, you put yourself in a world where you're almost in your own world, where you're not really too bothered by certain things. You're always moving in the right direction in life. And even when there's trials and tribulations that come at you, you're battling them, right? You're fighting them off. So when we talk about an abundant lifestyle, it is a life that is filled with so much gratitude, so much positivity, so much wealth, so much good health that it's almost difficult for the enemy, right? Some call it the devil, for example, for anybody to come and put you in a place out of abundance, basically.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You're also very deeply passionate about financial literacy. Why is education such a vital piece of your mission at Baidu Tax Services? We talked about being financial educators. How do you bring this education to the people that you serve and the people that you will serve in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that question, David. So, education allows you the potential, and I want to be very clear on the word potential, to do great things. When you're educated about something, you can make a more informed decision, but you have to make that decision though. In that, what we're doing, the reason why we say to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources, right? When you're taking hold of something, you're grabbing onto it. You're like, hey, this is mine, right? This is my information. This is
Mhm.
something that I'm going to take and pretty much make an informed decision with. So, education is the ability to be equipped with information, the right information, so that you can make an informed decision. So, when we talk about our firm, we're doing webinars all the time,
Great.
hosting events. I mean, we just did one yesterday, for example, about the tax reform. We did a Q&A session where we invited everybody, hey, come ask tax questions, because we believe that even if we don't work with the client directly, we're indirectly helping them by educating them. And we know the world, how the universe works. You
Mhm.
bless somebody, you become, basically when you're blessing onto others, then the universe tends to be a blessing onto you. And that's not exactly why we're
Sure.
doing it. But basically, we believe that you have to be equipped with information, because at least let's give you the chance to have that information so that you can make the decision. Now, if you decide to not make the decision, that's completely on you. I mean, that's not on us. We've
Right.
done our part. We've given you the information. We've educated you. We've advised you as best as we can. When we talk about education, I don't want to say it's everything, but it is the thing that you need to move in the right direction. It is the thing that you need to ultimately make sound decisions. And so we truly value education. We believe everybody has the right to getting educated and informed about something. And in the world that we live in today, there's no shortage of education. There's almost too much education nowadays. But the key thing is, since there's so much information, you have to find the right information and have the right type of education to make ultimately an informed decision. Right.
I love it. I love everything that you just said there. Finally, since you brought up workshops that you've done, can you share one or two success stories from one of the workshops or clients who made a powerful financial transformation thanks to your help? And I do
Absolutely.
want you to
Thank
brag about yourself. This is bragging time.
you. Yeah, I appreciate that, David. So, the universe, it's always interesting how the universe works. And you notice I'm very spiritual, I'm very tapped into the faith. And in general, I had a birthday party this past weekend in Chicago. I had a birthday party in Chicago. And before the party started, I ran into an old colleague, someone who attended a workshop that I did about cryptocurrency back in 2016 when Bitcoin was pennies on the dollar, basically. And he
Pennies,
shared,
period. Not the pennies on the dollar,
right,
pennies.
exactly. And so basically, he shared with me that he actually followed the advice, right? A lot of people, they don't follow the advice, they're not really listening, goes from one ear to the other ear. He took action. So he bought the Bitcoin, and he basically told me, man, you've done a lot of great things for my family. I thank you very much. And that now he's actually educating people when it comes to cryptocurrency, not just Bitcoin, but also
Okay.
Litecoin, Ethereum, and all the other coins. And he didn't share how much he made from it, but I can imagine it's probably in the six-figure plus range of
Okay.
just by attending one workshop that we did in person in Chicago back in 2016 on the topic of cryptocurrency, what it is, giving you that education so that you can make an informed decision. And he took action. He made that informed decision and he went all in. And once again, he didn't share exactly how much he made, but I think it's probably in the tune of 6 figure plus conservatively. So that's just one example of how our education has made a positive impact in somebody's life.
Fantastic. Any final words for people, and especially those that aspire to come into financial services and become a financial educator, especially in the realm of the CPA industry, in the CPA world, where right now there seems to be a major shortage and there is a lack of sufficient interest for young people to come into this. You being in your early 30s, you aspired to come in here. You've done great work and great things. What would you say to these people?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. First and foremost, I thank you for allowing me to be on your platform today. It's truly an honor and a blessing to be on a platform like this and to speak to a group of like-minded people. Hopefully the people take something great from it, something that they can make an informed decision, right? You see me referring to that a lot. But ultimately, when we talk about what's my final words, some advice? Number one is find something you're passionate about. If you're not passionate about something, you might as well stop doing it. Because the passion is part of that super hunger, that internal motivation to do. When I wake up every day, I'm excited to talk to a client about taxes. I'm excited to help a client save money in taxes. I'm excited to lead a team. That's actually getting me going, right? And so I don't even know when I'll retire personally, right? Because I'm so excited, it gets me going. I used to be a workaholic. I'm not a workaholic anymore, but I still love what I do, to the point where it's like sometimes I'll get more excited about the business life than the personal life some days. Of course, I'll get excited about my personal life than the business life, but nonetheless, it gets me going. I mean, I love what I do. I'm working from home because I'm passionate about it. That super hunger is within me because of the passion that's within me. So that's the first advice. Make sure you're passionate about what it is that you're doing. Last but not least, have a mentor. Have somebody who's done it bigger and better before you, knows more than you do, can help you avoid making mistakes you would have made 20 years from now. And that's one mistake I made was I did not hire a coach, a business coach or mentor until probably year 3. And by that time, I almost gave up my own firm because I was burnt out. And I could have avoided making mistakes that I would have made 20 years from that point by having that mentor. Do they cost money sometimes? Absolutely.
But
To
it's a
invest,
lot
it takes money
cheaper.
to make money.
Yeah, I have
Exactly.
found it's a lot cheaper to hire the professionals who've made
Yes,
those
sir.
mistakes and is able to
Yes, sir.
pass on those experience and save you time and finance so that you
Yes,
don't have
sir.
to learn the hard way. And it's ultimately
Exactly.
it's cheaper than learning through the long, difficult journey of trial and tribulations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we always tell clients it's more expensive to fix something than to do it right the first time. And so those would be my recommendations is be passionate
Excellent.
about what it is you're doing. And then lastly, make sure you have somebody in your corner who can guide you accordingly in the things that you're looking to do.
Fantastic. How can people get a hold of you?
So, David, I would say my personal website, which is jeffbadu.com, jeffbadu.com, jeffbadu.com. You can contact me directly on that website, and it has a ton of resources on there as well. You can call me 5773-819-5675. So, jeffbadu.com, my website, or my phone number, 773-819-5675. Looking forward to hearing from you for sure.
And the phone number you gave, is that a cell phone or is that your office line?
That is a cell number, so you can text it. You
Okay.
can text the number and you can call it as well.
It is direct. We appreciate you for providing your personal cell phone number where people can
Sure.
reach out to you directly without the interruptions of phone tags or through a secretary.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So that wraps up today's conversation with Mr. Jeff Baidu, founder and CEO of Baidu Tax Services. I hope you find this insight on tax planning, wealth building, and wealth multiplication and creating an abundant lifestyle, both practical and inspirational, which I have. And if you'd like to learn more about Jeff's work or connect with his firm, he gave out his website as well as his personal cell phone for those of you that are watching this podcast. It is on the screen. Check out the links in our show notes if you're listening to this only. And while you're there, please be sure to subscribe to Jet Setting Wealth Advisory so you don't miss upcoming conversations with leaders who are redefining wealth and success. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep jetting forward your financial future. Contact us directly at DTY Wealth Planning Solutions. Hope to hear from you. See you soon. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for flying with us on today's episode of Jet Setting Wealth Advisory. If you enjoyed your journey through the fiscal skies with David T.U., don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and keep your financial knowledge soaring. For more insights and personalized advice, visit us at www.dtywealthplanningsolutions.com and connect with David directly